At the Calvary Cemetery in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and you can see an enormous crucifix here with Mary and another person at the base of it. I'll read what it says. It says, erected to the memory of Reverend Patrick B. Phelan, LLDPR, by his sister, Bridget A. Phelan, 1919. The back of each of the two statues and the one crucifix on the base also has who made it. It was made by the DePrato and Regali Company of Chicago, Illinois, and they did a lot of statues like this in bronze and copper, and they did a lot of crucifix like that. Around the region, there's many of their works around. Again, this one was done in 1919. The whole cemetery is from 1882.
Hold on.
I'm going to show you during the...
Go.
Oh, forget where it was.
Sorry.
The cemetery was made in the year 1882. It was made for the church called Sacred Heart Church. Now, Sacred Heart Church had offsprings of itself. One offspring was the Rosary Church, which is in the Flats neighborhood of Holyoke, and they have their burials here. Another offspring of the missing church was the Blessed Sacrament Church of Holyoke, and so they have their burials here also. So this big cemetery is for 3 different churches to have their burials. The priests of Sacred Heart are buried in the front, and then later we go to the back and former priests. But the first priest is not here. James Sheehan is not here. James Sheehan is...
Hold on, I have to pause it because go ahead.
James Sheehan was the first pastor that served Sacred Heart. He started in 1876. He died in the year 1881. He's buried in St. John's Cemetery of Worcester. He was never buried alongside his church like a lot of pre-1900 pastors were. But the second pastor is this Reverend Patrick Phelan, and he was, like it says in the stone, second pastor of the Sacred Heart Church, 1880 to 1919. That's 39 years in succession. He served as the pastor of Sacred Heart. And he gives his birth 1846, and he died March 2nd, 1919. The statue, or the crucifix, was given by his sister in honor of Patrick Phelan. So the third pastor, where is he? He's buried in the St. Thomas Cemetery of West Springfield. But when we go to a stop by the gates of this cemetery, we're going to stop at the gates. The reason why is the gates were dedicated to his parents and to him. So we'll show you that engraving. The fourth pastor of Sacred Heart is buried here. He's buried right in the middle section here. His name is Reverend James McGillicuddy. He started at Sacred Heart in 1939, and he lasted to 1949. That means that the person that I just mentioned, William Foley, the third pastor, he served from 1919 to 1939. That's 29 years. So McGillicuddy, born 1872, and he died January 25th, 1949. All right, then the next pastor right here, it says Monsignor James Fitzgibbons. He was the fifth pastor of Sacred Heart, 1949 to 1968. He born 1886, and he died April 18th, 1968. The first 5 pastors all died while they worked. I mean, basically, they died all in the rectory. They were so dedicated to their jobs, they always stayed with the jobs no matter what. We're going to go to the back of this priest circle. In the back of the priest circle, there's one more priest. Now, remember I just told you that 2 churches were mission churches of Sacred Heart. One of them was Blessed Sacrament. And most of its priests are buried around Western Massachusetts, very few in Holyoke. There was also another church I mentioned. Its official name is Our Lady of the Holy Rosary. It was started in the year 1885, and it's in the flat section of Holyoke. It's an Irish ethnicity church. The first priest was the Reverend Michael Howard. When he died in the year 1888, he was buried by the front steps of the Holy Rosary Church. And when it was taken down in the year 1975, they weren't going to own the land anymore because they were going to sell it, so they had to move his body. So he's one of 3 priests that were buried alongside their church in Holyoke. He was one of 2 that were moved because the church was taken down. And here he is now, and he's at the back. He's a different church than the other 3 of Sacred Heart in front. Plus, he was added later. So it says he was born in 1855, died September 15th, 1888. He was probably 33 years. And then after that, many priests came on the rosary, including one that became the bishop. So we'll mention him when we talk about Rosary Church. So thank you for coming on this stop of the Calvary Cemetery.